What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Freedom Fire Podcast, where we want to stoke the flames of freedom every single day. My name is Kendall Bowman. I got a loaded show for you guys today, but before I get into that, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section, and share the show with your friends. Follow me on all the socials down in the description, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we put out new videos. All right, guys, let's get into the stories from today. From the Hill, U.S. military releases footage of Russian warplane forcing down an Air Force drone. I'm going to share this video with you. All right, so you see the drone, you got the Russian plane. So the plane is trying to pour oil onto the plane. So you see it makes a pass here. And it's going to come around once again to try to do the same thing. There you go again. Just going to try to do the same thing. And this time, she makes contact. And you can see the, okay. So unfortunately, the Hill didn't show the entire video. Those propellers at the back of the drone, after that second pass, you can clearly see that the one of the propellers had been struck and that it was broken. So yeah, this drone absolutely did make contact with this plane. All right, the U.S. military released footage of what it described as an unsafe and unprofessional intercept by a Russian warplane that forced down an Air Force surveillance drone over the Black Sea. The 42-second video footage shows a Russian Su-27 approaching the back of the U.S. MQ-9 drone on Tuesday and dumping fuel as it passes. European Command said officials said the warplane made a second pass at the unpiloted drone, again dumping fuel before colliding with the drone. The camera feed was lost for 30 seconds after the collision, according to officials who added that when the video feed was restored, it showed that one of the drone's propellers was damaged. Now, why is this important? Well, you see, you have the U.S. military saying that this is unsafe and unprofessional, as if the Russians are not fighting a legitimate war, and as if we have not involved ourselves in that war so much that we are providing the Ukrainians with intelligence. And that right there is the problem. You don't get to sit there and say that something your enemy does is unsafe and unprofessional when you're involved with the killing of their soldiers. We have been providing, or the United States military has been providing, the Ukrainian military with intelligence using this drone technology. And ultimately, that helps the Ukrainians to kill more Russian soldiers. So, of course, they're going to try anything that they can to stop the United States drones from being able to deliver that intelligence. Now, ultimately, this is just more escalation. And Lord knows, the United States military does not need a very big excuse to escalate conflict. But we are seeing escalation, especially with stories like this. From Timcast, China, Russia, and Iran hold joint military drills in the Gulf of Oman. U.S. officials say they are not concerned over the military exercise, but they will monitor it. Of course they will, because that worked out so well with this drone. China, U.S., and Iran are conducting joint military exercises in the Gulf of Oman from March 15th to March 19th, according to a press release from China's National Defense Ministry. The drills, known as the Security Belt 2023 exercise, expand upon similar drills conducted in 2019 and 2022. China's defense officials said. The Associated Press speculated that other countries that could take part in the drills include Pakistan, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates, as those countries have coastline along the Gulf. Chinese military officials have deployed a guided missile destroyer called Nanning to participate in the exercises to aid in aerial search, maritime rescue, ship parade, and other drills. The Security Belt 2023 exercise will facilitate the deepening of the practical cooperation among the navies of the participating countries, further demonstrate their willingness and ability to jointly protect maritime security, actively build a maritime community with a shared future, and inject a positive momentum to the regional peace and stability, Chinese officials said. Yeah, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't think that it's any surprise that these three countries are the United States' biggest enemies as of right now. China is the United States' biggest global competitor. Now they are currently having some economic downturn, but so is the United States. Obviously, Russia speaks for itself. You just saw the drone footage. And then Iran is a major enemy because we have ultimately been stopping them from being able to do nuclear research to attain nuclear weapons, which, that's a little bit different for me when it comes to the whole intervention thing. 99.9% of the times I'm going to say that we shouldn't be involved in other countries. But when it comes to Iran, they kind of told us from the beginning that if they did get their hands on nuclear weapons, that they would use it to genocide Israel. So when somebody tells you what they plan on doing with a weapon, you probably shouldn't allow them to have that weapon. However, we are seeing escalation. We are seeing our enemies come together and kind of ally themselves together to be able to put together a force against the United States. And it's because the United States has put themselves in so many situations. They have intervened in so many wars, in so many conflicts, in so many different situations across the world that they have made these enemies. Now, only the future is going to tell what's going to come of this whole drone situation and of these military exercises. But Lord knows the United States does not need an excuse to stick their nose in places that it doesn't really belong. So that's all I got to say about that. I'll have another story coming for you guys in just a second. But before I get into that, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section. All right, guys. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, you will often hear me share a story similar to this, and then my caption will be to homeschool your kids very loudly. Homeschool your kids. And it's because of stories like this. Oregon high school teacher had students write about sexual fantasies and reveal classmates that they would have, the dirty with. An Oregon high school teacher is under fire after giving students an assignment to write about their sexual fantasies. Kirk Miller, the health teacher and football coach at Churchill High School in Eugene, also previously made students play a game called With Whom Would You Do It? Absolutely insane. Where they had to spin a wheel with categories including oral and anal sex. Yes, guys, this is happening in public schools. The students had to give the initials of the classmate they chose for each X-rated activity during the February assignment. The instructions read, list on the handout the initials of a male and female that you would do each activity with. You may use the same person for multiple activities. In Miller's fantasy writing assignment, students were asked to write about sexual kinks, including feathers and the use of flavored syrups. You can read the assignment there. Oregon Live reports in an email sent to Churchill High families on Thursday night, Principal Missy Cole said she and other administrators at the high school will work with Eugene School District officials to review its high school health curriculum, which is called Our Whole Lives and was developed by the Unitarian Universalist Association and the United Church of Christ. I'm going to go ahead and say that if that was created by the United Church of Christ, then they got some things to answer for, first of all. But guys, listen, stuff like this is happening all over the country. All over the country. And parents, you are responsible for your kids. I get it. Now, I have a child. On Sundays when I go to, when me and my wife and my child go to church, we will often drop our child off at the nursery. Just for, the hour and a half that we will be in that church service. It gives us a nice little break. And I get it. It's easy to do that. It's easy to just take your kid, drop him off at the school, and to get your nice little 8 hours a day. That you get to yourself. I get that. That's nice. But ultimately, if it results in your children being shown things like this, being involved in activities like this, where they are being taught to fantasize about how they would have sexual intercourse with their classmates, that's not exactly a healthy environment for your child to be in, and it's your responsibility to fix that. You bear the responsibility. You can easily take your kids out of these schools. You can put them in a private school. If that's too expensive for you, you can always homeschool them. Ultimately, we as the parents of our kids have to bear the responsibility for our child's safety. And I'm sorry, if you are a parent of one of the children that was involved in this situation here, and you don't take action to protect your children, I'm sorry. To me, that's child abuse. To me personally, that is child abuse. Think about it. Taking your child, putting them in an unhealthy and unsafe situation, and then after you've become fully aware of just how unsafe the situation is, you choose to keep them in that situation. It's child abuse. You know that your child is going to be taught things like this. They're going to be having things like this shoved down their throat all the time. It's unsafe. And ultimately, we have to bear the responsibility of protecting our kids. That means you need to be in the streets. You need to be protesting these things. You need to be going to school board meetings and shouting these things out, saying, hey, why is this happening? This is unacceptable. It needs to stop. And then when your school board elections come around, you get these people out of office that are allowing this garbage to happen. Show these people that they can't get away with things like this. And then maybe one day your schools can be good enough to send your kids back. But I'm sorry, man. I don't see how specifically you stop stuff like this. I don't see how you stop stuff like this. There's always going to be weirdos. That's just reality. There's always going to be weirdos in these schools. But ultimately, you have to do ultimately, you have to do what's right by your child and get them out of that situation. Homeschool your kids, guys. Look, I get it. It's hard. It's frustrating. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you should move to an area where it's a little bit cheaper to live so that you can make this happen. Okay? I get that. That's hard. That's not for everybody. But ultimately, it's your responsibility. Your child must be protected from things like this, and it's your responsibility to give them that safe environment. All right, I'm going to leave that there. I'll have another story coming for you in just a second, but before I get into that, make sure you follow me on all the socials down in the description and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we put out new videos on this channel. Let's grow this channel. Let's be in contact more often. You guys can send me stories on social media that you can or that you want me to talk about here on the channel. You guys can send me questions that I can talk about here on the channel. And yeah. All right, let's get into the next story from HuffPost UK. What is happening at Credit Suisse and how will it impact the global banking sector? The bank has been forced to borrow up to $45 billion from Switzerland's central bank. Anyone who remembers the banking crash of 2008 will have felt a flutter of apprehension at the news that Credit Suisse is in trouble. The giant Swiss bank, usually known for its solid dependability, has been forced to borrow up to $45 billion from Switzerland's central bank to bolster its finances. It follows the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank in America and has raised fears that the global banking system is once again teetering on the brink. So how worried should we be, and what is the potential impact on the wider economy? Now, so Switzerland has chosen to go the way of the bailouts, okay? And unfortunately, so has the United States. From Business Today, according to a report from J.P. Morgan Chase, U.S. Fed's emergency loan can inject $2 trillion in the banking system to ease liquidity crunch. In a statement issued by the bank, it stated that as the largest banks are unlikely to tap the program, the maximum usage envisaged for the facility is close to $2 trillion. In a statement issued by the bank, it stated that as the largest banks are unlikely to, the usage of the Fed's bank term funding program is likely to be big. Strategists led by Nicholas. That's a crazy last name. Not even going to try that. Led by Nicholas in London, wrote in a client note, while the largest banks are unlikely to tap the program, the maximum usage envisaged for the facility is close to $2 trillion, which is the par amount of bonds held by U.S. banks outside the 5 biggest, they said, as reported by Bloomberg News. On Sunday evening, the Joe Biden government launched an emergency rescue of the U.S. banking system in an effort to halt contagion from the rapid collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. The Federal Reserve announced that they have created a new program to provide banks and other depository institutions with emergency loans, the Bank Term Funding Program. The new facility aims to make absolutely sure that financial institutions can meet the needs of all their depositors. And once again, we are placing Band-Aids over bullet wounds. We are just kicking the can down the road. However, it's going to get a whole lot worse for me and you. You know, the people that make about $40,000 to $50,000 a year, the blue collar folk, the hardworking folk that make this country run. It's going to get a whole lot harder for us. Ultimately, you have to understand this: the Federal Reserve has no money. Okay, the government has no money. The banks have very little money. Okay, ultimately, let's say you go to the bank. Let's say you go to the bank and you ask for a loan. Okay, let's say you ask for a loan of $10,000 because you want to start, a YouTube channel or a business or something. The bank does not hand you $10,000 worth of bills. They go into their little program and they type $10,000 and it's just instantly added to your bank account. It's not actual money. It's fantasy. It's monopoly money. They're just typing it into a program and boom, you suddenly have it. They're creating it out of thin air. And this is exactly what the Federal Reserve does when they say that they're going to give, or when they're going to put $2 trillion into the banking system. They don't actually have that. What they're doing is they're going to print that money, which is going to cause inflation to go up, which is going to force the Fed to have to raise interest rates once again, which is exactly the reason why we're in this situation in the first place. As we know, SVB had a little bit too much of their investments in the bond market, and when the Fed started to raise interest rates, they could no longer make money from those investments, which meant that when the depositors came to say, "Hey, can I get my money?" The bank no longer had their money, and this is why they have since collapsed. So we're just kicking the can down the road at this point, guys. We might have, I don't know what the result of this is going to be. It could fail, you know what I'm saying? And we could just keep having more economic downturn. But even if we did stop the economic downturn for now, we're going to be here again in a year, 2 years, 3 years, doesn't really matter because we're just kicking the can down the road, putting Band-Aids over bullet wounds. This does not solve anything. This doesn't exactly give confidence in the system, because all you're doing is telling these banks, telling these businesses is that you don't have to manage your money. You don't have to manage other people's money very well at all, and we will always bail you out. You can have foolish business practices that don't work, and we will always bail you out. Absolutely insufferable and very frustrating as a citizen, because we will be bearing the brunt of this. Like I said, more inflation, higher interest rates, and if you've got stuff in the stock market, it might do good right now. But actually, let me check the heat map. I believe this is live today. Yes, so this is the financial sector heat map. It's looking like as if everything is doing quite a bit better. The electronic technology sector, technology services sector, the financial sector. It seems like everything is kind of rebounded a little bit. But I don't know, guys. This feels like we're just kicking the can down the road, and that we're gonna be right back here again in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whenever it is, just long enough for the government to say, oh, it was this guy's fault. That's pretty much where we're at this point. Nobody wants to fix anything. Everybody just wants to blame it on the last guy. So, I don't know, guys. I don't know where we're going to go from this, but that's the show. That's all I got to say about this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment in the comments section. Follow me on all the socials down in the description. Share the show with your friends, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we put out new videos. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.